Well, hello and welcome to All About the Valley. And my guests this week are from Moxie Mobility Training.
You got it.
And Kathy and Judy.
Mm-hmm.
And Kathy has been here before. You
Hey, everybody.
back what, a couple weeks ago?
Just a couple weeks ago with the Massachusetts Senior Games. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
With Davis Cox. He's another regular.
Yep. And Jeff came out to talk about the ski team. That was really cool. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
But,
And I brought Judy Rego with me today as the volunteer with Moxie Mobility Training. Yep.
Yeah.
Keeps
and
me in place.
what you do is you teach people how to stay mobile,
We do balanced and mobile.
balanced and mobile, and you actually do it on virtually.
We can do it
online.
virtually. We do. Yeah.
So you don't have to visit you.
We do it in person or we can do it virtually. Yep. So if people are across country or like we
Anywhere in
were
the
just
world.
talking about anywhere in the world, we can help people out and kind of look at how their body mechanics are going for them and help keep them see what's going on. We can also do like what we didn't really talk about this before, but another thing we can do is some home assessments, like some home modification consulting, like. You know, if we're on an iPad or a phone or
To
something.
redesign your house,
Yeah,
the
like
interior.
yeah, like I don't do that, but I could consult and say, okay, here's a problem area. If it's a small thing like getting a grab bar or just
Rugs, removing
talking about
rugs.
removing rugs. Like everybody thinks that's all like scatter rugs, right? It's the big scatter rug debate. Do we take them out? But a lot of times rugs keep dirt from spreading. If they can be like if it's outside your shower, it's like if you have a slip resistant rug, like that's good to keep you from slipping and falling, right?
Yeah, especially if you got a ceramic floor.
Yes, especially if you ceramic before you want to dry off before you hit that ceramic, so you don't go ice skating.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So yes, that's good. The rugs but also it's sometimes like I always say stairs are good until they're not. Right? It's a lot of people have a debate of whether they move out of their house early on to go into like sometimes people are looking at like an over 55 community and they're like, oh, this will be great because it's one floor.
Yeah.
Well, stairs are exercise, right? So if you have them, you kind of want to use them and keep yourself in shape until they aren't good. And that's when they start to become not good, then we look at other things. We look at if we could shorten the steps. I have some clients that I don't know how, but their stairs are an inch over code's 7 inches, so they're a little higher, and they're very challenging. And we're looking into splitting the stairs in half, maybe like it's an outdoor patio, so they're 8-inch steps, but splitting the stairs in half so that she now will have like 4-inch steps, and it'll come out a little farther, but 4 inches is a lot more doable than 8 inches, and it's still keeping her in good shape where she's still lifting and doing
You made a good
stairs.
point. People want to get out, they want to go to one level. They're actually hurting themselves.
They might be, or if they need it, it's a good
if they
option.
really need it, I mean, you have no
Yeah,
choice.
yeah.
If you're really invalid and you can't walk that well.
Yeah.
But if you're decent, it's good to have the stairs.
Yeah, and if you're having no problem with stairs, don't get rid of stairs because like how many places you go to might, not every place is handicap accessible, right? We're not all following ADA and like going to a restaurant or even to a family member's home. Like how many times that I've heard people aren't going to family reunions or holidays or whatever because they can't get into people's homes or they can't get off a toilet or those kind of things. So we help people with that and look at different options, and we talk about equipment and assistive devices and things like that.
Well,
that
they
can
say
help,
when you go into a building, use the stairs, not the elevator,
absolutely,
because you're exercising.
Absolutely. Like why, if you, like people save exercise to go to the gym, right? But then you have all these tools available to you just in regular life that are just as good exercise.
That don't cost you anything.
That don't cost you anything. And do it more often because, 30 minutes in the gym and then you come home and do nothing. Like, what is that really helping? You're training your body that you're only going to move 30 minutes, right? And you really want to be moving all day long and do as much as you can.
I know here in town, we have a cemetery and there's people walk it all the time.
Oh, yeah, yep.
And they say they enjoy doing that.
Mm-hmm.
They see a lot of people they knew.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun to meet new people you didn't know.
But you're keeping yourself out of there.
Yeah, yep, exactly. That's a good point too. You could be walking through there and saying, "This is where I don't want to be right now."
Yeah.
So let me keep moving. But it's also like cemeteries are so peaceful and quiet,
Yes.
and
And no traffic.
no traffic, and birds are singing, and you're kind of in nature, which is so important too.
Yes, I live on a street, there's no sidewalk, and so it's narrow, and it's hard to walk because, God, I get nervous when I'm raking in the front of my house because the cars come flying down the road, and I say, oh my
Yeah.
God, I hope they don't hit me.
Yeah, because you have to walk in the street.
Yeah.
We just did this whole project to help with ADA compliance in our town, and we put in all these amazing new like crosswalks that
Yes.
like that have the ramps
The
and
ramps,
everything.
all the sidewalks have ramps.
But the joke is, you go down the sidewalk and there's a telephone pole in the middle of the sidewalk that there's no way
Yeah.
any wheelchair or anything else could get around, and even like a person has to walk in the grass to get around it. So
Yeah, I understand.
we're getting there. We're
Yeah.
getting there, right?
They have to do the sidewalk over because that's illegal.
Yeah, you have to move things. You can't
Right.
make it so that people can't get by. I mean, that's the whole point of doing everything they just did. But, if people can't access the lovely ramps they just had, what's the point?
And we just had a sidewalk, a road rebuild, and they put a sidewalk in. And they had to do that, they had to make the sidewalk a little bit wider because of telephone poles and mailboxes.
Yeah, yeah. And it's hard too, because yes, the post office has to get to those mailboxes, right?
Yeah.
And they have to be close to the street. And I don't know, some of the mailboxes in our town, they're in like cement buckets.
I know.
They're not even
Yeah,
sunk in the ground.
we get that around here.
So,
But they did on this one is they put the mailboxes sideways,
mhm.
so they didn't stick out into the road.
Yeah.
And also they had enough room to get the wheelchair accessible because that's the big factor.
Yeah.
And that's good because people are more mobile now. Even people that are in a wheelchair, they get out. I mean, I see them going down the road, going to Walmart.
Yeah. Yeah.
With
Absolutely.
the electric ones,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so great. And now, with all the electric bikes and stuff that are out there, like
Yes.
it's great for people that may not be able to go as far a distance, but that, or they need a little bit of a break. They now have a
yes.
bike that can help get them out and about, which is great.
But no exercise with an electric bike.
Oh, no, you can adjust it. So
Yeah, know
I just
they
learned.
do have pedals.
Well,
right.
yes, but you can adjust how much it helps you.
Oh,
So you can turn it all the way off, so you're doing it all by
Electric,
yourself,
uh-huh.
or there's different adjustments that you can put it on,
Oh.
like how much you want to
Going
help.
up a hill or something.
And let me tell you, so I was in France this past October, and my friend is a bike dealer over there, and so he took me out mountain biking on this trail. And I had the e-bike. He had a regular bike, and I had an
Oh.
e-bike. So I got a feel of it, of how much. And I will tell you, it was scaring me a little bit because the faster I pedaled, the faster it would go. So I
Yeah.
had that thing off for most of the time, so I could just do my thing. But we came to a hill that was like this. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I clicked it on. Oh my gosh, that was beautiful. I was just like pedaling like I was in a sunny meadow. And he's like, and he finally grabs onto my shoulder. And I just went, whir, and I pulled the both of us up the hill. It was a beautiful thing.
that would be, I
was
thought
so
I
fun.
thought I would like to have one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But then I said, well, I don't know if I could handle it anymore because I get nervous with the traffic.
Yeah, well, you don't start playing in traffic,
Well, as a kid, didn't bother me at all. I rode my bike everywhere.
Well, now you're smarter,
There
though,
you
right?
go, but
Right.
it worked on your balance, right?
There you
Yeah.
go.
It makes you stay balanced, and then
Yeah.
it's good for the pedaling part.
Absolutely, yeah. Be careful, try it. Just go to a
Well,
parking lot and try
Well,
it
they
first.
always say, you
Cemetery.
never forget how to ride a
Cemetery,
bicycle.
there you go.
You never forget how to ride
You
a
do
bicycle.
not.
And there again, here's your balance.
Right,
You gotta learn to balance.
right. What's the other thing I say in our class? Well, you're not in the balance part. So we do a couple classes. We do an exercise class that Judy's is so in tune with getting everything set up. That one's on Facebook Live out of Fairhaven Senior Center. That
Oh,
anybody anywhere can chime into that one.
you go to Fairhaven Senior Center.
Fairhaven Senior Center on Facebook. It's
Facebook.
Facebook Live, but it's also on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So anytime we're there in person, well, live, second and last Wednesday of the month. But like it's always there, so you can always watch
We
us
have an
there.
exercise show on here.
Nice.
A woman that does it.
Nice.
It's very popular.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. I don't think they can have enough of us because everybody's got to find the one they like, right?
Right.
Like if there was only one, yes, everybody would do it because there was only one. But the beauty of having a lot of different types of exercise, or even the same type, you can figure out the one that you like and then just stick with that.
They've been on TV for years. You go back into the 50s. You had exercise shows.
Oh my
on
gosh,
TV.
Jack LaLanne, right?
Jack LaLanne,
Jack
yeah.
LaLanne. I can remember my mom with the pulleys and the this.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that was she would wear blue tights and a blue leotard and a wig. And she would go do her exercise. And I don't really know the purpose of the wig, but
Jack LaLanne was huge.
huge and in
Yeah.
such great shape, and everybody followed him. Jane Fonda,
Yeah.
Richard Simmons,
Then
all
the
these
guy
guys.
there, what the heck was his name?
Richard
Oh,
Simmons.
Simmons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These were
He
movements.
was gigantic.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were movements. Like everybody, and
Yeah.
everybody felt so much better. That's why
Yeah.
they made people feel better and do really good things.
But he had been
Yeah.
overweight,
Mhm.
and he lost it, and he promoted the exercise to do it,
Mhm.
and it worked.
Right.
And God, I mean, he was so popular.
You're right. Yeah, it's such a great thing.
Yep. In our class, we have people from all levels of age and also abilities.
Oh.
Because some of the people from the daycare center come in, and then we're always getting new people and younger people.
Bringing friends, like what I love is that somebody will come to our class and they'll see the gain that they've got, and then they see a neighbor walking down the street, and then like, hey, you should come with me, and then now we have like they're helping
And
their
now you get
community.
more on, yeah, you keep
Yeah.
filling up.
Yeah, and we have pickleball players in our classes. We're totally helping people improve their balance and game. To people with medical conditions, Parkinson's, neurological disorders.
And
So
Jim,
and
the runner,
the runner.
Jim,
Why am
the
I?
tall man.
Oh yes. So yep. Gentleman who's in the social day, but he was a marathon runner, I think, right?
Oh, okay, I don't know that.
Well, some kind of runner, but
Some
he
kind of
used to
runner.
run a lot, and it just goes to show with age and sometimes medical conditions, things break down. But I will tell you, when he comes into class, his body, we talked about muscle memory, he goes back into runner mode, and he knows how to move, and he does really well. He comes like hobbling in with a cane, and then during the class, the cane's kind of ditched, and he's marching and doing his thing, and
Oh.
yeah, it's pretty neat.
He must really miss running.
I'm not sure, but
Well,
probably.
Run is,
Yeah.
it's an addiction,
It could be an addiction for sure. It's also hard on the body, so
Right.
it's kind of,
but it releases certain
endorphin.
endorphins, yeah, and the runners they just love what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to do a shout out to my daughter, my stepdaughter. She has decided to run marathons this year, so I don't
The
know.
Boston Marathon?
She's not doing the Boston. She did the New York Marathon,
Oh.
and she just went to California a month or so ago and did like another. I think that one was a half marathon, but she's doing really well with that, and that is nothing that I've ever wanted to
No.
do, but I will be yay by the
I
sidelines.
gotta
Right?
say, the New York Marathon's a little easier than the Boston because you don't have any hills.
Right.
It's all flat.
Yep.
So I mean, I admire people that run this Boston because Heartbreak Hill, I mean, you just ran 20 miles and you
And then you
that-
got the hill.
Oh.
Yeah. I when I was much younger, we walked it for one of my classes at BU. We walked 13 miles. We kind of power walked it. I couldn't walk for 2 days after that.
and that's
And I
only
was 20
halfway-
years old.
and that's
Like, it was
only
only the
halfway,
half of it.
right?
I didn't even hit the hill yet. Yeah, but
I admire anybody who can complete that, and I
Mhm.
know people have done it.
yeah, yeah. And it's so important. Like, that exercise is important. I wouldn't say go out. Actually, we use the marathon as an example, like why you don't just go out and start to play tennis again, or, if
Yeah.
you haven't done anything in a while, because it's like the marathon, right? You have to train to get to yourself
Yes.
to that point. I just interviewed at our Senior Scope magazine. That's our Elder Services newsletter that's down by us, and we were talking about pickleball. And, one of the things I was talking about is injuries and stuff that happen with pickleball, and a lot of the injuries happen with people who are older, over the age of 65. And the editor said, so should we tell people not to play? And I said, absolutely not. Like, but
Right.
just like the marathon, you have a certain way to start to play. You want to make sure your doctor says okay. That's a big one. You want to make sure you have proper footwear and your good nutrition, good hydration.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go out and you learn how to play. Yes, if you played tennis, you may not know the rules of pickleball, because they are slightly different size courts. And then you don't jump into like a competitive, play the first time. You start at beginner level and then work your way up.
I think what made it popular was it's a little bit easier than tennis. You're not moving as much.
Right. You don't have the distance.
You don't
Yeah.
have the distance, so I think that's why people like it.
Right. You're not
And,
moving.
and it's more exciting than badminton.
Yeah, badminton can be pretty exciting
Right.
though, right? But you get more. I think it's a little more satisfaction that you
Yeah.
hit that ball and it goes a little farther.
Yeah,
But
and also that pow, pow,
Yeah.
pow.
yeah, a little and quicker movement. But it's a different game than tennis, because you're not
Yeah.
moving backwards as much.
Right.
It's more side play. It's more positioning. And if you don't know that, you want to kind
It's
of
really caught on. Now they have an organization, well, a franchise deal where they set up pickleball indoor courts,
hmm
and they have restaurant, bar.
Oh, fantastic.
I mean, it's like a country club.
Yeah, it sounds like indoor soccer. I used to play indoor soccer, and same thing. Like,
Yeah.
you had the bar up top. You're looking
Yeah.
over all the fields.
Yeah, and so and that's what they're doing with pickleball now.
That's cool.
Well,
That's,
but if they came to the balance class, they'd be better pickleball players.
yes, that's
Yes,
true.
because you learn.
Because they'd learn how to move.
Yes,
And then balance the drinking after too, right?
yeah,
Well, I don't know about that. That's kind of your own animal, but for sure, yeah. No, we do that. Like, we have some people, especially at the Y. So we have a class at the Gleason Family Y in Wareham, and we did a extra class to help the people, or let the pickleball people be able to get to a class. And most of the pickleball people honestly start at 7 a.m. and by 1 o'clock when the class is, I think they're toast. But we have a couple people that come in, and we've improved their game because it's about body mechanics and
yeah.
getting stronger and how to balance, and taking them through the agility courses and stuff like
Well,
that.
you think about it. You're talking balance. You're top heavy. Humans are top heavy
Mm.
because most of your mass is above your waist.
Well, kind of, we all kind of have
Yeah, with that. but-
more. Our weight's really right about here.
Yeah.
But you're
no,
right,
you-
especially men with like broader shoulders
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, they're carrying bigger chest muscles. They're carrying a lot up top. Yeah,
Yeah, and your head weighs quite a bit.
and your head weighs 8 to 12 pounds.
Yeah, so you got all that mass up there on two legs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially if people are starting to walk with their feet really close together,
Yeah,
how are you stabilizing what's up top?
yeah, that's where you come in.
And that's
what
where
you
exactly
people,
where I come in.
yeah, people, you're not walking properly, or
You're not swinging your arms, like
Yeah.
you're counterbalancing. Yep, all those.
Do you think that's laziness in a lot as you get older?
No, because the swinging the arms is really it's not something we do like we think about. Like if we're marching, yeah, we kind of think
Well,
about
yeah,
it, right?
if you're doing a power walk or something, you automatically do it.
Right, but just the regular just swinging of your arms comes from your hips rotating.
Mhm.
And if your hips are stiff, or now we have a hip problem, and they're not rotating, you're not swinging your arms. Like just, because we kind of walk with them gently swinging.
Mhm.
And that, again, is from our hips rotating. So if our hips stop rotating, our arms stop moving. And generally when our hips stop rotating, our feet are somehow closer together too.
Ah.
Because we're not shifting our weight like we're supposed to be shifting our weight. We become very, very, really kind of
I'm
tall.
just wondering what causes it. We're worried about falling.
Part of it is a fear. I've been noticing in our balance classes when people get afraid, the first thing they do is lock their legs.
Yeah.
And you think about it, like what baseball player do you ever see locking his legs?
No.
Right? So we're out there, any sport you play, you're in a game ready position, which
Yes.
is knees bent. You're kind of, heads up, shoulders back.
Oh, yeah,
You're in that ready to go and change positions. But when when mobility is starting to decrease, we've got knees locked, head looking down, shoulders rolled forward, very narrow gait, all
we
the
go
things.
into a protective position.
I think so. Could be part of that, but it's actually not protecting us. It's doing the opposite.
Right.
Then we can't understand why we fall.
And then we can't understand why we fall. Try dancing that way, like you can't. And Judy is like, does Zumba, right?
Yeah, I do Zumba once a week, and we go dancing at least 3 times a month, just regular dancing.
Oh,
As a group
dancing's a
of
great
women.
exercise.
Yeah.
It reduces the rate of falls by 40%.
Really?
What other statistic can I give you to go just start dancing? Like put the music on at home, shimmy around.
Yeah, you just
You know?
listen to music at home and dance around.
Just like that. Do that
Yeah.
again. Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Yeah, so stuff like that. Like, because if you think about how we dance, our feet are wide because we're getting our body ready to move in all different ways, right? You're shaking your hips, you're shaking your shoulders, your arms are moving, like, and you don't have to be a good dancer, right? But just let your body move,
not
right?
the way we dance today. You just feel the beat.
Feel the beat.
That's
and
it.
just let it go. And that's why it's important.
One of the things that I learned from her class was how to turn, because I didn't know I didn't know how to turn, because I always crossed over, and as soon as I crossed over, guess what? I was ready to fall.
Ah,
And she taught me step, 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 and you do that when you're dancing.
Right, right. There are crossover moves, right?
Yeah.
But usually your arms are out if you're doing those, or you've got a partner helping you do those, right?
Yeah.
So you're able to keep your balance and yeah, like there's a lot. It's surprising to me, especially we do some exercises where we bounce like a big ball. We take a Theraball and I have people bounce it around the cone. And my only instruction is don't cross your legs. And so many times as people get near a cone, instead of stepping out to keep your, stability, they'll cross over to get around it. And it's that moment, like Judy said, that crossover, now you are narrow base of support, holding a big heavy ball, and not good things happen sometimes,
wow. Well,
So,
good.
yeah.
I fell, but that was because I was on ice.
There's that factor too,
Yeah.
But I wonder if your legs were, because I think that my biggest problem was that I didn't have enough sense to keep my legs further apart.
Yeah.
And even on ice, I'm thinking you probably would do better.
Yeah, like look at hockey players, like a lot of times to really go, they've got their feet out
Well, I was
pretty wide.
shoveling snow.
Right, but did you have your
just
feet
maneuvered
closed?
wrong and went up. But boy, it was that fluffy snow on top of the ice.
Yeah, it's can be
Yeah, it's
hairy
hard to
for
tell,
sure.
but-
You never know, like 'cause you can make one misstep, and even if you're out wide and your weight's just shifted wrong, boom,
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that ice and snow. So that's why, like,
Well, there was an epidemic of it in February. I mean,
Yeah.
I had to wait a month to get a CAT scan because they were so busy with people that fell.
Yeah. So many
Yeah.
people fell. Absolutely. Like, and the time, like the statistics for falls in Massachusetts are most people are falling in December. I think our numbers are now getting skewed a little bit by when we actually are having the snow and ice,
Yeah.
right? But mostly it's because snow and ice are happening, and
Yeah.
then people who aren't really in good shape start going out and shoveling, which they're not really in shape for. So now they're fatigued. They're not used to that.
Yes.
And if you go out, because do you go out and shovel for 10 minutes, come in, take a rest, and then go back out?
No, I just get it all done.
Exactly. So that fall might have happened because your muscles were fatigued.
Yeah.
And it's not like you don't always feel muscle fatigue, like, oh, I need to go take a nap. It's your muscles are like your form is kind of starting to fall apart because your muscles can't hold you in that form. So, and shoveling's exercise. So if you're out there for an hour and a half doing something you're not used to doing, guess what? Everything's tired,
Yeah.
right? But we got to get it done. You
Yes.
know? So and that causes some of those falls to happen because our muscles are fatigued. They can't step out quick enough. They can't hold us up enough. We might actually be leaning farther forward than we're used to because we're shoveling.
Yeah. That was part of my
You know?
problem. I was leaning forward because I
Yeah.
was shoveling.
And I've seen people even fall like as they go to throw it.
Yes.
Just that motion of the throw
Yeah, it throws
is
your
now
balance
takes
off.
your body that way.
Yeah.
So unless you're able to do the action backwards to hold yourself, if all those muscles are tired, you're just kind of going with the
Well,
snow.
My mistake was just only about an inch or two of snow, so I didn't bother taking out the snow blower.
Right.
If I had had that, I wouldn't have fallen because I would have been holding on to the bars.
I had this one time I was out snow blowing and I hit ice like you were saying, and my feet were going like this.
But you stay up
I was
because you're
like,
holding on.
"Ah!"
Yeah, your feet are going crazy, but you're holding on.
Right.
So
Too
that's
funny.
my lesson. I don't care if we get a quarter of an inch. I'm going to take the snow blower out. It's safer than the
So
shovel.
true. It's just so heavy. It
Right.
goes by itself. It's kind
And
of
probably, I'm thinking when I shovel, I'd probably tighten my legs because I'm lifting.
Yeah, you tend
right
to.
because
Yeah.
you're not bending
Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
knees,
Yeah,
right?
you're stiffening up.
Right. And that's that. And then we all wonder why our backs hurt when we go in because we haven't been lifting with those big muscles of our legs. We're kind of like
we're using the back.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The other thing, when you fall, if you tense up, you're gonna get hurt, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and like a lot of times when it gets harder, like the exercise is starting to get harder, we hold our breath,
Yeah.
which tenses us up. We're not getting enough oxygen to our muscles to keep them working well. Like all that kind of happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody thinks of all these things. They just
We think we know everything, that's why.
yeah.
Nobody can tell us anything
Well, and
until it's too late.
and that's and you're right? Because it's been working until it doesn't work, right? And then we
Yeah.
wonder why it doesn't work. And there was everybody thinks when something goes bad, it's what happened right then. But there's 45 things that went wrong to get us
Yeah.
to that point, and we
Yeah.
just missed all those cues of what we didn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what we do in the class, right? We talk about all those body mechanics. Like we have 6 rules. It's breathing's number 1 because when we don't breathe, bad things happen, right?
Yep.
Posture's number 2. Where are we? How are we aligned? Base of support, arms or legs. Where we're most stable. Number 4 is can
it
I quiz
planning?
you? That's number 6.
Oh, that's the only one I remember all the
Okay,
time.
so I'll get back to you when I get to more. So number 4 is looking ahead. So it's
Yeah.
not looking straight ahead. It's not looking at your feet. It's in the middle. So
We talked about that earlier. Yeah. Everybody's walking around with their phone now,
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking down.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
And even when you're shoveling snow. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, one of the things that I learned from Kathy is that I used to find tons of money because I walked this way
Yes.
and whatever. And then when she said, No, you need to look at least 6 feet ahead of you. And then she said, because that gives your brain a chance to say, oh, there's a hole there, or the sidewalk's crooked.
Right.
Get the message to your brain, and then when you get there,
You
you
make
don't,
the
you
adjustment.
don't trip.
Yeah.
If you wait till you're right upon it, and you see it, it's already too late to travel from your eyes to your brain and back to wherever it goes.
Yeah, that's why people stumble or,
Right,
You
exactly.
might find yourself in the hole, like those people with the texting, right?
Yeah.
But if you look and saw it come, it's just a slight adjustment right or left, right? And you totally cleared it. But when you look down, if you get right to it, you're like, and then it's a big step to either side. And if those muscles aren't
oh
strong,
yeah, you hear about people stepping off the curb and almost getting hit by a car because they were busy texting.
That happened, I fell off, coming out of a restaurant, just that's how big the step was. And I went down and I fell flat, right on my
Yeah, because
two
you
knees.
went
Were you
over and
texting?
whoop.
No, I wasn't
she wasn't
texting, I was,
texting.
but I wasn't paying attention
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
And I didn't even realize that
We're
that
using the
step was
6 foot
there.
ahead rule.
yeah.
Yeah,
I had a friend break her hip this year, and a friend 2 years ago break her knee. She like totally broke her knee, and not texting, but just by missing. Like my one friend was like, "Woohoo!" and then she fell, and the other friend, I think she was distracted and then went to step up, and she didn't step as high as the curb was, and just went down and broke a hip. So.
Yeah, and now you got to end up with an unofficial hip.
Yeah, and actually she didn't, but she was non-weight bearing for 3 months.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
gonna put you out of commission.
and she's a professor. Like, how do you do that? So
Yeah.
she was wheeling around in her office chair, I think, a lot for some of it, and yeah, it slowed her way down. So.
you were doing
Yeah.
those steps.
Oh yeah, so that was number 4, looking forward, right? So number 5 is being in control. And a lot of times we just go, like we're just, loosey,
Yep.
whatever we're doing, and we're not really thinking. But again, we had talked about military, how they stand tall and
Yes.
they're erect, and it's,
Shoulders back.
yeah, part of it is that's getting drilled into them to be shoulders up, whatever, but it's also because they're strong. When your muscles are strong, it keeps you in proper alignment.
Right.
So as we get deconditioned and weaker, we kind of start to roll in together. So if you're walking around and you're not moving your arms and that's not really being in control. That's just being like letting things happen. And then we're surprised when things happen. So
Yeah.
we don't let them happen. Be strong, walk strong and tall, and so that's that being in control kind of thing.
It's so easy to slouch.
It is.
So we tend to do that. And, like I said, back in grade school, all the teachers would say, sit up in your chair. And there was a reason for that.
Right, and how many like grandmothers would say I won't even say our mothers, I would say grandmothers were like the book on your head, you had to walk with the
Yes.
book on your head to keep the posture because they didn't want you to be
Yeah. You
hunched
had to balance
over.
that book on your head, and that way you made sure you get good posture.
And it's true because that's how we stay well is keeping that posture because it's more efficient for our
That's
bodies
how they
to
train
work.
fashion models.
Yeah, they do a little like hip hop too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how you do that with a book on your head, but a little hip hop, yeah, a little catwalk, right? Right, but they're in control of their motions. Like
Yes.
they are strong. They can slide and glide and look all fancy up there, and that's
Yeah. And they're walking the way you should walk so you can they look good.
right. There you go, fashion those clothes. And then we have our last one.
Plan.
Make a plan. Yep. So those are our 6 rules, and make a plan is how are you going to stay healthy? How are you going? Because we all make a financial plan,
Yep.
right? And that is to get us through the rest of the days. But we don't ever have that health plan, and that health plan eats up our financial plan quite a bit if we don't have a plan.
The health plan is what you eat and what you do.
Well, exercise, and it's even like who do you want if some things go wrong? Who's going to care for you? right? And where do you want to be cared for? Do you want to stay at home? Do you want to go to assisted living? You know, like there's that whole how we want to live the rest of our days, and even at our end of the days. Like, do you want to, you know, do you want to go to the hospital? Do you want to die at home? Like, you know, we don't do that much talking like that in our classes, but that is something we provide as personal
But
training.
you do when you do your caretaker classes.
Yes, the caregiver classes. Yes, so we have caregiver classes, like caregiver coaching clinics. Also on Facebook Live, we do, thank you for bringing that up, our Hey Moxie discussion groups. They're for caregivers that they can come in, they can bring whatever obstacles they're finding at home, and we can kind of brainstorm it through and see what kind of therapy-based ideas, thinking outside of the box, like what we feel could work. We talk about things like respect and respectfulness. Actually doing one tomorrow at Mattapoisett Council on Aging at 10 a.m. And it's just me on camera. Sometimes we have people in the room, the caregivers that have come in. Most of the time it's me talking to the camera. If people can post comments and stuff like that, just ask questions. And you know, I have a format, but again, if somebody's calling me and they have something they need to work through, that's really what that's all about. And we just kind of problem
This is
solve.
for caregivers, that's people taking care of someone else.
Yep. And I encourage like past caregivers to call in, because I love talking to them, because they have found ways to care for people that we may not have thought about, right? We get new perspectives, and it's a good conversation, and it's a little bit different than other support groups, because we look at like, how are you transferring people? We're talking about injury prevention. We're talking about how to get that loved one who only wants to sit on the couch, how to get them up more, and because by people staying well and mobile, it makes the caregivers' lives easier. Because that caregiver burden it's a real thing. It's a real problem. And I just heard a statistics. I was just telling Judy that if you decide to care for somebody all by yourself, you've signed your own death certificate. Because 40% of caregivers, especially with people with dementia, die before the person that they're caring for dies.
I've heard that, yes.
And it's real. That burden is nothing we want to do to caregivers. A lot of times caregivers do that. They put a lot of that on themselves, because they say, oh, well, you know, my husband won't let anybody else in, or he doesn't like anybody else than me to do that. Well, that's great, and you're trying to, abide by your loved one's wishes. But if that loved one's wishes is taking you into the toilet, like, that's not a place, like, don't take two people out, you know?
Right.
And you try to find the common ground. And what I find is, that husband may not want people to come in, but if someone comes in, they usually like the people coming in. They just don't want to admit that they need somebody else. And, you know, that death to us part, right? That vow we do when we get married, like, it's real, but it's also, you can help yourself.
Unreasonable.
Yeah, and we always talk about putting your own oxygen mask on first, and then the person next to you. Same with caregivers. Like, you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of whoever you're giving care to.
My wife did it for many, many years. With her father, who was home, and he had rheumatoid arthritis, so he couldn't move. He was immobile, and her mother couldn't take fully care of him, so he did it for many years. Even after he went to nursing homes, she took care of him.
Yeah.
Because even the nursing homes don't give you the amount of care that you sometimes need. They're short-handed.
They are short-handed, and it's hard being a caregiver, to knowing how well you took care of someone, to have them have to go into a facility and you know they're getting cared less for. But it's not that they're getting bad care.
Right.
And at the same time, you want to ask yourself, was I giving too much care?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's that juggle. Like, if you're giving more care than you can handle, who are you benefiting?
Right.
Because if you take back some of the care, not neglect or anything like that, but if you take back a little bit of that care that you're giving to someone and you put it back on yourself, you may find they don't need as much care as you're giving, and you need it. Like the caregiver needs it as much as the person needs it.
Right, and you're taking the independence away from the person who's ill.
Yes, we talk
And
about
there's nothing worse than losing your independence.
Right, and even if it's someone who's not ill, like if you're caring for an older parent or someone that are still capable of doing things, like don't take that away. Like don't put their shoes on them if they just need to struggle a little bit, but they still can do it.
Right, because eventually they won't be able to do it at all.
They won't, and why would they? Because somebody else will do it. Or they'll get mad because why are you putting my shoes on like I'm a kid?
Yeah.
Right? So you have to kind of ferret that out, and you actually just ask questions. Would you like help with your sneakers? Could I tie those for you? You know, like, and again, that struggle is not a bad thing. That struggle is exercise.
Yeah.
You don't want them struggling to the point they're getting red in the face and frustrated and angry. But just, you know, if it takes them 3 minutes to put their shoes on and you can put yours on in 30, give them the 3 minutes. Because that's 3 minutes that they're moving and staying mobile and keeping healthy.
Right, yeah. No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But thing is that they feel less, more independent.
Absolutely.
And it has to do with their self-worth.
Yeah.
Because when you take all of their abilities away from them, they'd say, well, what good am I?
It's self-purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody needs self-purpose. Even if, if somebody's not able to do a lot for themselves, you still want to show them that they can do something and that they're important, that there's something that you're getting from them as a caregiver as much as you're giving them the care, for sure. Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah, like you say, they'll feel that if they're more independent, they're gonna want to stay alert. They're more, psychologically, you can depress them.
Mm-hmm.
I read this book. I think it's Atul Gawande's. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a really great book, and he was talking about assisted livings and how they started. And the first model of assisted living was really that. Like, people were given assistance, but they were able to live and do as much as they could. And the one that I was impressed with, it was in upstate New York. And at first they started running it like a regular assisted living, kind of more of a medical model, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the director was like, this isn't working, and he brought in cats, dogs, fish, birds, plants, and everybody could pick what they wanted, and then they were tasked to take care of these animals.
Oh.
And what they were finding is that people that were nonverbal were all of a sudden talking, and people that weren't moving were getting up to go look at the fish tank. And,
they now had a responsibility now.
They had responsibility. They had somebody to take care of, or they were part of something.
Yeah.
Like they were part of a bigger community,
And they lose their anger as well.
Yes, I would think so, for sure. And they found that people were thriving because they were part of something. They were giving care of themselves. They were, even if it was a little fish, they now had something to take care of.
Right.
Right? That they were having to keep that fish or plant or whatever they wanted to do. And then they were, and I think they even started to have, they brought in a daycare. They had a daycare in the assisted living, so they got to see the little kids, and it brought them joy and happiness, and they started doing more arts and crafts things, and not just, it was more like they had a painting room. So if somebody wanted to go paint, they could just pick up a paintbrush and an easel, and so it was more like a community. That didn't last very long, because that's not the medical model of an assisted living or a nursing home.
But there should be. I mean, it's giving them a purpose, not just warehousing you to, end of life.
Right. And I will say, there's a lot of good assisted livings out there that don't, it's not just, whatever, but I don't think we look at it enough. I think, yes, some people are allergic to dogs and cats, and so there are some things you have to be considerate of, right?
Right.
But, I think just having a community to live in. A friend of mine in upstate New York lives in a eco village, which I thought would be such a perfect development for like an over 55 community or whatever, like you disperse whatever, but all of the doors faced in, and all the back doors were all on the outside of the circle, and they had their cars parked up in another area. They all had fruit trees and beautiful views behind them. Like it was just but the sense of community was all in the middle. It was like, and you didn't need as big as spaces because your houses were facing the inside, and all your space was on the outside where there weren't any houses. It was just such a cool idea, and I think to take care of other people and to, if they're people that aren't moving as much, they still can walk to their front door and be involved with what else was going on in the community.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was kind of a neat idea.
Interaction.
Yeah. It made me think, like, this would be really a great plan for retirement communities,
Yeah.
I like the idea with the pets. I think, you say there can be a problem with people with allergic, but try and get around it because cats and dogs can make a real, it brings a lot of emotions out, especially an older person.
They love you unconditionally.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, even if they've been abused or whatever, they find people to love and they come back. I mean, some unfortunately.
Yeah, and they get
know.
people up out of their chairs.
Yeah.
Because they're feeding them or walking them or taking them out
Absolutely.
to go potty or whatever. Much better than just sitting in a chair.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, really, and you're taking care of a life. It's like when you're a young parent, you're devoted to that child. Well, now you're devoted to that animal as an older person.
And it makes you think about something else than yourself, right? Because if you've got medical conditions and all you do is sit, because what you're thinking about is yourself. You sit and think about your pain, and you think about your doctor's appointments, and you think about, like, there's not much happiness in thinking, so you want to get outside yourself. You want to think about other things, and that's why it's so important, like we talked about with the Massachusetts Senior Games, like, their big thing is community. Friendship and community, and you're involved with something bigger. The camaraderie
amongst those athletes, yes.
Right, so it's about getting outside yourself. Like if you find yourself just sitting thinking about all your ailments, it's time to go think about something else, because it's not gonna help you. It's gonna, like, that drain on your brain. It's just sadness and.
That's why I always find another job. I don't retire.
Yeah.
Because you got a reason to get up and you got something to do. Because you can get into that habit of not doing anything. Waking up, turn on the news, and that's it.
And that is it for a lot of people all day long. They wake up, they turn the news on, they sit, they go to the bathroom, they get a meal, they sit. And we become a swamp.
Yes.
Our body becomes a swamp, and we all know swamps stink, right?
Now, these places, do they also have, like, activities and things like?
Yeah, but the beauty of it was they didn't have to have as many planned activities because they were all active
you had something
together.
going all
Like
the
you were
time.
talking to your friends, you were going to dinner with people, you were, like it wasn't, you didn't have to have, it's 1:00 and it's time for bingo, I'm sure they had bingo come in too because that's fun, but it wasn't like there wasn't anything else going on the rest of the day because they were, how's your fish? My fish is doing this, My plant had a bloom, like whatever it was. Right. And it because that's how we live before we get to these places, right? We just live. We talk to our neighbors. We meet up at the grocery store. We talk about recipes and gardening and all these things. And I think that's what they did have too. They had a
Public garden,
but what is it when it's in the
Oh, yeah.
greenhouse?
greenhouse? They had a greenhouse. So people, if they wanted to go out and play with the plants, they could
Yeah.
go and play with the plants and grow things. And
Well, the great thing about having a plant, you always should have a plant in your room, because it gives off oxygen
this is true.
and uses up the carbon dioxide.
This is true. Get it,
So, you know, it's good to have it. It's recycling your air.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and we talked about the gardening too, like as exercise.
Yeah.
Right? As
And
exercise.
then you get to eat the fruits of it.
You do, and you get to enjoy what it looks like, and you have that sense
Yeah.
of you pat yourself on the back that I just did all that. It was
yeah.
good hard work, and yeah, so
And
important.
people compliment you on your garden.
And people compliment you, and they, look at all the goodness. It just keeps going, all right?
It's true.
And when you get that bloom, you're like, yes, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's sadness if things, you know, you forget
If
to
the
water
rabbit,
them.
if the rabbit eats your buds.
Oh, the rabbits.
Oh.
Down
Oh,
by
I
me,
didn't-
it's
yeah.
deer. The deer eat everything.
I used to have a row of tulips along my driveway, and I can't have them anymore because I had a groundhog or something.
Oh,
He's eating all my bulbs.
mm.
And no matter what I did, he ate the bulbs. So I said, I just give up. He
Yeah.
won.
Those woodchucks.
He actually ended up losing.
Yeah.
'Cause
and
now there's no
I did-
bulbs
Now there's
yeah.
no bulbs. You probably
Right.
moved down here. You're probably good
Yeah.
to put the good to put the bulbs back in. But yeah, but these are all kind of things we talk about in like how do we have a good quality of life as we get older, right?
Right.
And it's exercise is a huge part of that, but there's so much more to it. It's so
Well,
much
I
more.
think you got to keep your mind busy.
Right.
'Cause I
Right.
think-
But you got to keep your body busy.
Yeah.
Right? Mind and body. And I'm sorry, this is kind of like totally off topic, but one thing I was thinking is when you get your posture kind of changes and you're that leaning forward, your brain actually starts to think that that's upright. So it's hard to like go back to now I got to sit up straight, because for some people that feels like they're leaning so far backwards because
Yeah.
their brain now
Your
thinks
brain
that
adjusted to
leaning
the-
forward is now middle.
Yeah.
So part of what we do is help retrain brains and yeah.
Oh.
So I don't know, that just popped in my head. I guess I just had to get that
No,
out.
no, that's good. We got to wrap it up. We're getting close to the end
Oh
here.
my gosh, this has been so great.
Yes, yeah. It always goes. I had someone on last week who from a retirement society,
Mhm.
and he said, "Oh, it's going to be a whole hour." I said, "You're going to be surprised." He, oh my God, it went by so fast.
know, I
Yeah, 'cause
know,
we're
it's
just
such a-
talking, and it's fast how fast it goes by.
It does, yeah. What do you think?
think this
They do
is
similar.
nice.
They do similar to what you were talking about. They have a former mansion where you can live inside and you have your own room and your own bath,
Mhm.
and then you gather for meals.
Mhm.
But they also have condos, and you can either come and eat there or make your own food.
That's great.
And they have that's the way they're active. They interact. They'll sit around in the dining room and chat, or
It's so funny you brought that up. So I have one of my clients is a autistic young man. He's 25. You know, he's kind of aging out of where he can get help, right?
Mhm.
And
yes,
his mom has this brilliant idea of having, you know, like she doesn't really want to send him to a group home, but because she's, you know, with him, but she needs respite. And she would love, like she's trying to put this plan together where she could have this home for people with other nonverbal autism,
Yeah.
you know, young adults, where they could help each other with respite and they
Yeah.
could, you know, like have vacations or whatever, but they know that you know, because they're adults, they're pretty well functioning, but they're just nonverbal. They need
Right.
people to help, and she's trying to put together a plan for a home like that.
that would be a good idea.
Isn't that great?
And it's becoming more common, so
Yeah.
I'm sure she'd find a lot of people that would join her.
Well, that's what I keep saying. Like, so she just made the business plan. So if there's anybody out there, please get in touch with us. Let me know, because I think her plan is so solid. You know, because it's then what happens when she gets older.
Yeah,
Like, who's taking care of who? Like, how
Right.
is this going to happen? And there's, you know, she was even having the plan that the speech therapist would come in and kind of help them with communication, like even on the walls have pictures so they can point to what they need
Ah.
and kind of communicate better that way, right?
yeah, because the autistic children are growing up,
Yeah,
and we had a rash of them.
yeah, and she's struggled for years trying to find, like, even though has certain accommodations, those accommodations can't always be filled.
Right.
So, you know, so here where she had accommodations, now where he's aging out, like what happens? She's struggled when she had it. How is she going to find people now? So I love her idea because, like you said, there's more people out there that are kind of going through the same thing. And I think it's the same with older adults. Like, wouldn't it be great just to have a community where people can live with their caregivers and
Yeah.
and everybody can kind of work off each other. So,
Okay. Moxie Mobility
Moxie Mobility Training, yep.
Training. Get a hold of you. You're on the net.
I'm on the net, on Facebook, on LinkedIn under Kathleen Clark. Where else are we?
YouTube.
YouTube under
YouTube.
Fairhaven Senior Centers for our Moxie Motion class. Yep.
Ah. And you can also take a class from you on mobility on the net.
And yep, we can do that virtually. Absolutely.
They get a hold of you. They can get their own personal class.
Yeah, we do personal training just on virtually online. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So you don't have to travel.
Don't have to travel. You could be in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Again, I'll be a little tired if that's happening, but it's all good.
You can still connect on while you're on vacation,
Yes,
so you don't lose that rhythm.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, thank you for coming in.
You're
The
welcome.
two of
Thanks
you,
so much for
Kathy,
having us.
Judy.
Yeah,
Love to have you
Appreciate it.
back.
anytime. You know I love being here
Yeah.
in whatever capacity you need me to be.
Yeah, I appreciate you come up all the way from the South Coast.
Yes, we do. Yeah, and this is how much this is a great show. We really appreciate it, and we know you're international now, so I'm
Yes.
feeling really special that we came up.
Yeah. That's the beauty of today's technology.
Mm-hmm. It's a great thing that came out of COVID. Like
Yeah.
some wasn't so bad coming out of that. A lot of bad, but some not so bad. And just how we can communicate better and be in touch more. As I was telling you about my sister-in-law, like, you know, we wouldn't go for months without talking. Now we're doing
Yeah.
every Saturday night shot night. So it's all
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, I mean, really, you
Mm-hmm.
can keep in touch with. I keep in touch with cousins I have in Poland.
That's awesome.
Like,
Yeah.
my granddaughter had a baby in August, and I speak to her on Facebook every single night. They're in Kansas City, and here I am,
Oh, wow. Yeah,
and I get to see her, and
Yeah.
and she knows me. She knows me because as soon as she sees me, she starts.
Yeah,
Like she wags her tail.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
so
cute.
so there are advantages to it.
yeah.
Right, yeah, that's so cute.
Okay, we gotta go.
Okay. Well, thanks
See you
again
next
so much.
week.
Bye, everybody.